Yo, yo, yo. Morning, everybody. See here, make sure everything's good. Cliff, Igor, Musa, Oki, JH, Harris, good morning. Good to see you in here. Looks like the usual. If you guys can like the video, very much appreciate it. Something is hitting my microphone here. Rhetorical adhere. Probably pronouncing it so bad. Yusuf, what's up? Steven, good morning. Morning, Ross. Do you trade before the red folder news? No, I do not. Well, much like yesterday, we'll be waiting for that one. That's at 10 a.m., so about 30 minutes from now. We won't touch it, and I'll discuss some things as far as what I'm seeing in here today. Let me go out to it. So, I listened to a little bit of ICT today in his Telegram, and I'm definitely in agreement with him, and I have been. But this range that we've been in on the daily time frame is very difficult. It's very aimless. It's very consolidated, and it's a 50-50 shot where we're at. And what I mean by that is, if you're ever inside of a daily time frame specifically, really, and price is moving sideways, it's not picking a certain direction. Well, you need to pick out the highest high and the lowest low within that range. So in here, we're trapped between that high and this low. We're trapped, and we're just at the equilibrium, which is 50% of it. So anytime you're specifically at 50% of a dealing range, that is technically consolidation, that's really, really the worst place to be picking a trade. Why? Because either way, where we're at, we can trade to the relative equal highs here, or we could trade down to these lows. And even inside of consolidations, it makes it very difficult because everybody's trying to predict the breakout. They're trying to be a part of the breakout. They're trying to predict before it happens. And sometimes you get it right. Sometimes price will trade up to a certain high or a certain low, but it fails to get there because consolidations will do that. It's engineering liquidity. So it is very difficult to trade these environments. The lower time frames are especially harder. It's the reason why we haven't had the cleanest year, in my opinion. I mean, I've been around for a long time, and especially with these concepts, it hasn't been an easy year by any means. So what do? You don't do anything. Unless something became extremely clear on the lower time frames to where I could at least find a draw on liquidity on the lower time frame, then I'm probably not doing much today. And it's also on a P week. We have a lot of things in front of us. So that's what makes it difficult. Musa, why not the high and the low before it? I guess you'd have to... I mean, yes, you could say between this low and that high up there, but when you're looking at really the range that we're stuck in, I mean, it is really technically that high and that low there, right? Price is still inside of that really small range. Yes, even bigger high and low would be that one in there. So I'm reading the chat here. Morning, Martin. Guys, can you please like the video real quick? It'd help. So I don't have much going into the day, and I don't really plan on doing it. as far as making a bias or something like that. We'll see what 10 a.m. news event driver does, and then from there, I'll see if anything comes in fruition. But currently, we're still within that liquidity void or the new week opening gap. Looks like last night at midnight we dropped down, but all this is getting smaller and smaller. That's what you'll typically see within consolidations, is price will get basically like it's getting squeezed. The formation gets smaller and smaller and smaller until something eventually snaps. And I don't want to be a part of whatever snaps. I don't care to be a part of it. I would rather just let it happen. So it takes a lot of discipline, but these are low probability environments. Like, yes, can you see models on a 1 minute time frame, a 15-second time frame? Yes, but when you look at the surrounding environment, it's not high probability. This is not a high probability environment to be a part of. So just sit still, observe price. We have a news event driver at 10 a.m. At the very least, I'm going to be waiting for that. So all you do in these moments is just read price, and that's it. There isn't much else to do. So hopefully everybody's clear on that. I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of questions over today. Looks like overnight we dropped down. I'll have to take away this. This is the first presented FEG of yesterday on the 15-minute chart. So, turn this up for a second. We dropped down into that, but I don't know which way it wants to pick. Ultimately, if we were to look at just even on a 15-minute time frame, do we want to move towards these lows or these highs up here, or this low or that high? Right? I don't know which side it wants to pick. And I'm not going to sit here and try to guess, to be completely honest with you. It's just dumb. So the way that I've utilized intermarket relationships during these periods is observing them and seeing which side is really tipping its hand. That way I can have some type of idea which side NQ would eventually trade to. So it's not giving me a whole lot, but if we do look at dollar index and we look at some other things, it can potentially help. I don't think there's a whole bunch of information here to help this week so far. But if you're wondering, well, how do I figure out which side NQ would be trying to take as far as the daily time frame consolidation? Well, then you would be looking at intermarket relationships. You'd be looking at dollar index. You'd be looking at bonds and yields and foreign exchange and S&T in the higher time frame, and trying to see, okay, well, is something tipping its hand to me before this unravels? And if you can see that, then that's what I would be leaning towards, or at least trying to gauge. So that's why we use intermarket relationships as well. And I keep getting sick over and over again, and I don't know what the hell's going on. I rarely ever get sick, but for those who watched my Twitter last night or looked at my Twitter, how did you enjoy those annotations? Where is SMT accidental? I'll show you. All right, let's go over to NQ. Let's go over to ES. Now this could be meaning, it could mean nothing. But the way I've seen things play out over the last several weeks, I do favor lower prices overall. Does that mean we're going to get it? I don't know. But it is what I favor ultimately out of all this. I discussed this on the weekly forecast, but ES on January 24th, we made a higher high above December 26th's high, right? And if you look at NASDAQ failed to make that higher high. So we do have some type of bearish divergence there at the highs. If dollar maintains higher, that would be an agreement. If bonds and yields maintain their relationships, bonds lower, yields higher. If we see foreign exchange still move lower, then we could possibly see lower prices out of NASDAQ. If you look within consolidations at times, you can also find raids within consolidations. So within this consolidation, there's an internal buy-side liquidity raid right here. Sometimes that can kind of, tip you off to something. Not necessarily. This thing could still go higher and still gravitate towards the buy side. I'm not stating I'm heavily biased on anything, but this is what I was getting at on the weekly forecast is if you're in a consolidation, you're trying to determine, you shouldn't be pushing a side. You should not be trying to gamble it. But if you're trying to figure out which side, or at least get a foreshadowing before it happens, what may happen, then you utilize intermarket relationships. So you utilize S&T and all that good stuff to get that idea. I also think looking at the weekly time frame as well, kind of, to me, it screams that we want to break beneath this bullish order block here. We have an inversion for value gap here, but we've utilized it for quite some time now. And to me, that would want to be broken, right? Because we've utilized this for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it's going on 6 weeks where we're just hovering around this area. So to see a snap beneath this, close beneath the mean threshold of that bullish order block would be great. And start making some really good, nice runs. This is pretty typical for the beginning of the year. It can happen. I mean, I've seen these type of consolidations in March. I've seen them in April. But they only last for a couple months. I mean, shit, we went back. I remember this last year when I was live streaming. I'm going to have to put the continuous contract on. Again, I'm not interested in anything that's even happening until the news event driver. So if you're looking for anything, it's not the place. Right in here, this was in March of last year. We actually had some really good January and February price action. But I just want you to observe, start looking at last year. We had some really nice runs. Basically, as soon as April came around and then May, price started really opening up, right? June, even July, the summer months were actually pretty well, where price really started to open up. And this is what I mean is, if you're looking at price right now and you're trying to gauge your performance or judge yourself, there's always when you're judging yourself or rating yourself, you always have to look at your technical performance and your psychological performance. And you also have to look at just technicals in general. Well, as far as technicals, this is pretty dog shit to me. It's pretty terrible. And that's what I like to look at and say, okay, well, if I know it's terrible, I shouldn't be engaging with it. And if I still am, then I'm an idiot. Really, I shouldn't be engaging with it. 2, also, if I'm executing on sound models, but they're not working, then it's probably, again, it's technicals as well. But if you look at March of last year, I remember this went straight up in consolidation. I mean, that's really, really hard price action to be a part of. And that's a much smaller range, much, much smaller. We're in a huge consolidational range. I mean, this in here that we had in March of last year, I want to see. That was about 1,000 handles in general, really. And if you look at this range, it's probably about, a little bit larger than that. About 1,400 handles. So it's a little bit larger, a little bit bigger swings in there. And the daily candle ranges in here were much, much smaller. These are a lot bigger. So hopefully that makes sense as far as comparison wise. And it's normal. It does happen. Yeah, accidental, Igor, Musa, Mantis, all you guys have been with me throughout last year when we had that. So it's normal. It's not abnormal to have. You just have to be prepared for it and know what to do. Usually it means sitting still and not pushing in this environment and thinking you could trade in any environment just because you trade ICT's concepts. Yeah, Musa, I know you have PTSD. Morning, Sarah. If you guys can please like the video, I really, really appreciate it, man. I know it gets really annoying and repetitive, but it seriously helps. We're only at 30 likes. There's about 120 of you guys in here. It takes 2 seconds. If all you did it, we'd be at 100 likes and I wouldn't even ask. George, good morning. Romer, good morning. What's the trade-off? You got to do some push-ups at least for the likes. I was gonna say, well, you're learning from me how to trade. Yeah, no, you're good with it. I can do some push-ups though. Accidental Trump speaks. Jeez. Yeah, I do forget that we are in Trump's market. Dark Ghost. Does that mean high resistance morning? Again, everything I just discussed as far as the higher time frame, if you just got here, that's all right. But if you haven't, I'd go back and watch. Damn, that was a lot of car. The higher time frame is going to create these lower time frames to be very, very difficult. And we have a news event driver at 10 a.m., so we'll be waiting for that, and we'll just see what happens after that. I don't know if I'm going to be engaging with today. We'll see. 50 likes. Come on, people. I got to pull arms and legs out here for it. Lorto, good morning. All right. If you like the video, I'll give you a free funded account. Monopoly money. Glenn, yeah, it's all right. In these situations, again, when you look at a lower time frame like a 1 minute chart, it's very easy to be seduced into the idea of looking at these entry patterns and at least falling for them. Because 1 minute, you could be thinking, all right, we're gravitating higher, and the next we could collapse lower. There's a lot of things in here that can seduce you. This is why paying attention to the higher time frame and having a bias and having the narrative at the forefront of your mind is very important. Again, the higher time frames, the parent to everything else. We already discussed the higher time frames. Very undirectional. It's very low probability. So with that being in mind, even if there wasn't a news event driver ahead of me, I wouldn't be touching this right now. I mean, I really wouldn't be touching this. It would take a lot for me today to touch this. I'm just going to be honest. If you have the discipline to sit still during these environments, man, you're going to save yourself a shit ton of money and a shit ton of mental capital. You're going to save yourself a lot of headache. Smiley, I appreciate it. So underneath the opening, we have some relative equal lows there. If you observe, we have ES failing to make the higher high above this high here. ES or NQ made the higher high. So that is a bearish SMT divergence there. Does that mean anything? Not much to me. It could, but without any sort of context from the higher time frame, it makes it very difficult to even trust which side it wants to gravitate towards. JH, how do you go about comparing when you think an SMT is going to form or when one is just slow to catch up? Well, you're asking, how do you know if an SMT is true or if one is a sick sister? And that has to go with your narrative and your bias, because if I believe NQ is going to go higher, let's say right now in this scenario, how NQ made a higher high and ES failed to make it. Well, that is an SMT currently in this moment of time, yes. But if I believed that NQ had higher prices to seek, then I would just ignore it, right? It's just an SMT for the moment of time. But it's basically meaningless. So how do you figure that out is to go with your narrative and your bias. What is the draw on liquidity? What is price trying to seek? And if you don't know what it's trying to seek, then obviously you don't know if an SMT is true or not. And right now, I don't know what the hell either of these are trying to seek. I don't know if they're trying to seek lower prices, higher prices. The higher time frame is what makes things very difficult right now. Wazy, what's up, brother? Yeah, my Nightbot can be sort of a bitch sometimes. I see you're killing it on your top step. Good shit, my man. Let's put on the opening range gap as well. I forgot to do that. It doesn't actually look like we have an opening range gap. It's because basically where we closed and where we opened today were basically the same level. So there's no opening range gap for today. I'm going to leave off the liquidity void on this side here just because it's a bit much. I just want to look at price action. There is a new day opening gap up here. Make note of that. There's a lot of going on. I mean, you have a previous new day opening gap, you have a liquidity void, you have a new day opening gap, previous new week opening gap, previous new day opening gap up there. There's a shit ton of going on up there. Had to make some refinements, some Q4 data, and went to work. Hell yeah. Like the video. I appreciate you. Thank you. Nowadays, like Really pulling people's arms and legs off for it. How do I like ICT's long video? I mean, I really don't pay attention to him too much anymore, to be honest. I popped in there for a little bit today, like when I woke up, just to listen to what he said. But if I had to give a piece of advice from a student-wise or student perspective, is obviously listen to everything that he has to say. Listen to everything he has to say. But as far as executions and trading, like I would never take that trade that he took today. I would never personally take that trade. Does that mean that it's invalid or something that you couldn't take? No. Yeah, I checked it. You have to understand you are your own individual person and trader, and whatever sticks out to you the most, you have to listen to it. I honestly have said this many times. 95% of his trades that he takes, I would never take. Just because, even yesterday he took a long, and I agreed with the long, but that takes a lot of experience to even execute that fastly. I mean, that was very fast-paced delivery on a 15-second chart. Even for me, I've watched 15-second chart for almost a year now. That's extremely quick. I mean, the decision-making process is very, very quick. I just don't have the experience just yet to do that. And I can't compare myself to him. And a lot of the things that he takes, I just don't, it's not something I agree with. So you have to look at that as well. Igor, yeah, and exactly. There's a lot of times, at least, and I'm not, this is not hating him by any means, but a lot of times he says things that's very contradictive. I mean, he'll say like, there's relative equal lows, it's very low probability, which he stated that today, and then he takes along, and it's like, to me, if I was to be teaching students, I wouldn't be teaching through that mindset, because this is what confuses so many of you guys, is you guys think that you should be trading, and it's like, no, you shouldn't. Excellent. Yeah, I think yesterday was a fantastic trade. I just don't have the time or experience to even execute that quickly. I mean, that was a phenomenal trade. I'm not gonna lie. That was a phenomenal trade. It was just way too quick for me. I mean, even for me, because on a 15-second chart, you have about 30 seconds to decipher whether or not you want to enter in. I mean, that takes real experience, man. I don't have that. Do I compare myself and say I should have more? I mean, I can't speed up time here. So it just is what it is. I mean, I do pretty well on a 15-second at times, but I understand that I have a lot more time to go. But the framework and everything I saw that he took, I mean, I supported it, said it throughout the entire session, and it played out to perfection. Some dude, yeah. I mean, that's just time and experience. That's what time and experience, it will solve 90% of your issues, really. As long as you put in the correct work, especially with pattern recognition, reaction timing. I mean, a lot of the things that happen with me, I mean, it's just reaction time. I mean, be able to see it on a 1-minute chart, being able to do it that quickly is just time. Again, we're waiting for 10 a.m. to come out, so it's right here. Got about 7 minutes or so, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if this is going to carry on higher. I don't know if we're going to seek this high up here. We could, and even if it does, I don't care. I don't feel like any type of regret. And if you're a part of the long, which I know some of you are, that doesn't also mean that's an invalid long. It's based off of your personality. Once you become adopted to that mindset of like, I don't care what anybody else thinks, I don't care what anybody else does, this is what I know works for me, then you've made it. You know your model, you know yourself, you know what you're looking for, you don't care what anybody else does. You may look at somebody else and say, okay, well, can I learn something from it, and does it fit me? If it doesn't, then just ignore it. That's what I view everybody else as. Even if I took a loss and somebody won on the same day, it's not like I look at it and say, well, I should be trading like them. No. There's plenty of days where I'm winning and they're losing. It's you can never look to the left of you or right of you. In the beginning stages, of course, try to find your footing, try to find things to learn from other people, but most importantly is just listen to yourself. That's why we journal. Do you trade a lot of different models? Yeah, I mean, I trade a lot of different models, but most importantly is framework and understanding why price should be seeking something. Nikki, exactly, and that means you're developing into your own trader. That's good. Like, you shouldn't even be looking at my stream trying to trade my trade. That's why I hate when people ask me, you know, did you take any trades today? Can I take a trade with you? Like, all you're asking is just to make money, right? You're not asking to learn. Anyways, we'll just read price in here and see what we're doing. It looks like we're moving up into, this is the new day opening gap. There's a lot of stuff going on, but this is from today's open. New day opening gap there. So we'll see if we want to take 21,600. That's basically Asia's high. And I'm aware of, just because we're moving higher in here, I'm very weary of what price can do today. Very. Again, why is that? This higher time frame is going to, it's going to seduce a lot of people into doing a lot of dumb shit, man. And I guarantee you I can see it in the chat. I'll see it today and I'll see it throughout the rest of the week. As long as we're inside of this consolidation, man, I'm going to see it. Because this to me is a lot of experience. To be able to say, okay, this environment, I know what happens on these lower time frames. It's very seducing. And there's a lot of things that are going to act like it's a model. It's going to fail right in front of you. Price is going to get close to a high or low. It's going to fail to reach into it. There's a lot of wickedness that goes on within these environments. So I would rather not trade it until I think I'm certain about which side price wants to pick. And if I have to set out of a move, I don't particularly care. Doesn't mean I should have been trading it. You think this move high is a Judah swing or already happened? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. And if I don't know, that probably means I shouldn't do anything with it. Does it look like logically it wants to seek this high up here? Yeah. But again, because of the higher time frame, I've seen these things plenty of times just fail to run to this high, snaps off lower. And so, again, if we were in a very bullish environment on the higher time frame and there's a clear narrative as to why we should run higher, then I would be, obviously favoring that. I would also say if we've already ran a sell side liquidity pool prior to the open, I would be favoring it, which we didn't. There's sell side clearly underneath us. So it's a big testament, especially in these environments. If you can follow your rules in your discipline, if you can sit still and not do a whole lot. Again, this is what I like to do during these environments. Doesn't mean you have to, but it's what I like to do. And overall, we have a news event driver in about 2 minutes. So no matter what, regardless of whatever the environment was today, I was waiting for this news event driver. If you're just tuning in, if you could like the video, I'd very much appreciate you. Mantis, I appreciate you, brother. Have a good day. Somalia, do you think we can look for reversal? I don't know. These are very difficult environments to teach in personally. I mean, I've stated, if you've been with me for a while, you know these are very difficult for me because it's hard to say which side it's going to go for. So, news event driver just released. So we took a Asian session high there. What I would do, since we've done that, is take a look at ES and compare that similar high. And ES is nowhere near it. So that is a bearish SMT currently. Sound sleep for all. That's not English. I don't know what we're typing in here. Ah, I got you. So since we've taken this high here, if you look at ES, we're nowhere near it. It's a pretty big SMT divergence there. Since we're inside a consolidation, I really wouldn't be surprised if we run back into the relative week lows down here. Now, that's just a prediction. I have no idea what the hell this thing's going to try to do today. We could just keep sprinting off. What these type of environments to me make you feel like, it makes you feel like you should know what price should be seeking in the aftermath. It's like, well, I should have known that price is going to seek this high. But in these environments, it's always 50-50. So hindsight's going to be very easy to say, well, of course it's going to seek this high or that low. And it makes you feel like you should know that. I didn't know with a great deal of logic we were going to seek this high. It's very 50-50. So it's hard to sit through it psychologically at times, especially in a live environment with live people watching at times as well. It's hard to sit here. But I trust and know my own experience. You just have to sit here and just be okay with it. It doesn't mean that I should be trading it. It's a good job that I'm not. Even from here, I mean, since we've taken this high, I would have to determine whether or not we want to keep expanding and where we'd want to even expand into. I don't know where I'd want to expand into next, even if we went higher. And I would have to trust that we would, what in the world? We'd want to keep moving higher. And I'd have to see an entry pattern for it. There'd have to be a lot of things for me to even go long. huge bearish SMT. It would expand into the 1 hour FEG, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to determine right now for me. So we'll draw that out though. Just put that down there. There's nothing to trade. Exactly, XNO. GU offered a clean move higher. Let me take a look at foreign exchange while we're sitting here. Gapped lower on EU there. Filled in that liquidity void. Let's go down to GU. Actually, I've been seeing you mark up a lot of foreign exchange. You like it? Foreign exchange is fun. It's wicked. Ain't a whole lot in here. But EU is a lot more tame than GU is. GU is wild, man. AU and NU can be they can be nice as well. JH, this is a good example of, if you look at ES, right, back to your question of Six Sister or SMT Divergence. Right now, we see we see ES underneath this high here, which is basically the open of the day. Obviously, we see NQ way above it. Right, so currently there's an SMT divergence, but if, let's say, both of these really want to seek higher prices, then ES is just simply lagging behind it, and ES will eventually take that high. How do you determine that? Well, you just have to bet on the idea that, okay, well, ES wants to potentially seek higher prices out of today, or NQ wants to seek higher prices out of today. That obviously means you have a higher draw in liquidity on NQ, and that means that ES will eventually follow pursuit of it. So that's basically how you're reading SMT divergence or Six Sister. You just have to know the draw on liquidity. And if I don't know what the draw on liquidity is today, I don't know. And I don't feel like an idiot for sitting here and be like, well, I should have known that price was going to seek higher prices. I don't feel that way by any means. It's okay not to know what price is doing. It's okay. And even if price starts playing out, it's moving really rapidly, and you still were like, well, I still didn't really know it was going to do that. That's okay. That's fine. The thing you have in your corner is you're sitting still. You're not doing much. Does that mean I should have known I could have made money today? No. People don't want to admit that because they have too big of egos. And let's say today closes a lot higher, right? If we close a lot higher today, we make some rapid move higher, and we end off the day where we're close in proximity to these relative equal highs, and I see some other confluences. Going into tomorrow, I'd have a lot better idea saying, okay, well, we're probably going to seek the highs up there, and that's why I can trust higher prices. Again, when we're looking at this daily time frame, we're basically smack dab almost, we were basically at 50% of that equilibrium. So it's very easy in hindsight to trick yourself and be like, well, I should have seen this move higher today. No, I should not have. We're at 50% of that equilibrium, of that dealing range, and we could have easily done anything. So, obviously, hindsight traders will sit there and say, well, of course, we're going to go higher because X, Y, and Z, but you don't have to listen to that. Even your own mind will play tricks on you. Musa, yeah, I think that's very valid. I mean, you could trust a continuation model, but you're going to be trusting it for a very limited amount of time. Um, that's why taking partials in these environments, protecting yourself very quickly, moving stops to break even are very, very important. Your take profits cannot be overzealous. They have to be very tight. Jake, zoom out. Friday high to low, we are close to 70.5%. Yeah, I mean, I know where we're at in terms of dealing range, but Friday's high to low doesn't really mean a whole lot when you're inside of a bigger consolidation. I mean, could that mean that we're inside of a premium and we could see a sell-off? Sure, but at the same time, you're in a bigger consolidational profile dealing range, so it could also mean absolutely nothing. If we were in a very trending market, then I would be in the understanding that all we did was just take internal buy side here, and we're inside of a premium. But we're not, technically. AK haven't traded since December, just reading price. Very good. I am confused. No clear point of interest. Yeah. Ever used to mess around with Asian or London and Asian sessions? No. I never have, to be honest. Dan, I appreciate you on Twitter. I really do. I don't know if Dan's in here or not. I'm sure he is, but... I think I'm gonna have to do some type of flooded account giveaways or something here shortly. I grew at a really fast pace last year, so I think there's a lot more live streamers now on YouTube. But last year I grew at a rapid pace. Yesterday we were averaging like 300 views, but I think that's because somebody wasn't live streaming. I'll see what I can do. There's a lot of prop firms out there that are newer that would probably do some collaborations. ICT longed at 9:30. Probably saw that bearish trend line. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You just sometimes that dude's just a wizard. Please no apex or top step. What's up with top step? I mean, top step, I don't know, doesn't do anything. Top step's cool though. Yeah, I'll have to get in line with talk to Tradeify. So how does this price action make you feel? That's something that I would journal personally. Like, how does this price action make you feel? Does it make you feel like you should be a part of it? Does it make you want to chase it? Does it make you feel stupid for not knowing what price is trying to do? Or something else maybe. And if you feel nothing, then that's a good thing. I don't feel anything. I'm just sitting here observing it. Nikki, that's very good. Islam, I'm okay with just knowing where price is going to draw, not being a part of it. Sometimes it makes you think why you didn't trust to get into it. So that's a good point, but I would say hindsight's very, it can play tricks on you. So you also have to make note of, did I actually logically, see something today that I knew price was going to go somewhere? Or was it 50-50 and then price drew to it and I then started being self-critical? If I knew in the real moment of time, and obviously you have to be real with yourself and realistic and say, well, in the real moment of time, I really, I did believe price was going to go here. I had good logic to prove that it was going to do that. And I just didn't trust the model due to emotions, due to fear of something. Then obviously you have to journal that. But if it was 50-50 and you have rule sets that say you shouldn't be trading that day and price just drew to something, to me it means nothing, man. Because even if price drew lower today and went to the relative equal lows and went lower, I would have been having the same feeling. Like, well, same exact feeling. I don't really trust a lot of continuations models as they get slapped around a lot. Continuation models, to me, you have to know where the draw on liquidity is. If it hasn't been met, then you can trust a continuation model. But you have to know, with a great deal of evidence, that price wants to get somewhere, and it wants to get to that draw on liquidity. You can see it with a clear amount of evidence. That's how you trust continuation models, and you want to be taking your entry within that premium or discount of whatever time frame you're trading in that continuation model to get to that draw on liquidity. Even yesterday, it was a continuation model, basically entry within that liquidity void, but price failed. Eventually, we drew up in the completion of the liquidity void, but it failed to get there in that moment of time. I took that entry in here, and price basically just did time distortion, a bunch of terrible price delivery. The vehicle to get there was terrible, broken down yesterday, and eventually delivered to it, but everything was on point, besides basically the vehicle to get there. So at times, you're going to have a vehicle, and it's just not going to get you to where you want to go. If you're just tuning in, if you can like the video, I'd appreciate it. About 180 guys in here. We can get it to 100. Probably the only thing I'm going to be looking for today is maybe the macro to be a part of. We'll see. I mean, it's still about 20, 30 minutes away. Remember, if you ever get sucked into these lower time frames, just zoom out. I'm looking at this daily and going, this looks god awful to me. I don't want to put my money into this. JH, yeah. You've only been trading for 6 months? It's not a diss by any means. Because if that's true, man, you have so much time on your side. I would not judge yourself off of 6 months. I gotcha. I mean, even a year is nothing. Even with these concepts, man, it's absolutely nothing. So don't judge yourself too harshly. I think a lot of people do that, even myself. I judge myself too harshly, and I put a time limit on when I should know what price is doing. It took me about 4 years with these concepts, and I think I'm on 5 now with these. Yeah, I think I'm on 5. To even have this type of understanding, and I still run into losses. I still have days where I don't know what price is trying to do or reach for. As far as sitting still and watching price and not interacting with it, that's just time and experience, in my opinion. A lot of your FOMO will go away as soon as you have a clear, sound model, and you have time and experience on your side where you've watched price for countless amount of years and you've dealt with so many different situations and scenarios. A lot of that will go away. One thing that probably won't, with time that I've discovered that won't go away, is tilt and revenge trading. Those things don't magically go away. At least for me, those are something that you have to continuously work at, and I have to be on edge almost every day of. You know, if you took away, if I never revenge traded or never tilted, and I always stuck to my plan, and I never did anything throughout the whole years of me trading, I would have been profitable, 2-3 years before I was. Because that's really, I'd go on great runs, find consistency, and I'd blow it all in one day. It would happen to me over and over again, man. The amount of times I've gone, throughout my years of where I was consistent for like 2-3 months or maybe even longer than that, and then in one day I would just blow it all because I would get pissed off, I would get revengeful, and I would just blow it all. It is the number one issue that I've dealt with throughout my career is tilt and revenge trading. And I've got a good handle on it. I'm still very weary of it, like very, very weary. Alex, taking maximum one trade per day helps me with that. Yeah, and it's not like even with that rule, I mean, it's very easy to say, like, I have a rule as well where max trades I usually take within an actual day is maybe 3 at absolute most. It's a very cliche, I think, especially on Twitter and all social media, like, we'll take one trade per day, only risk this amount, have this. It's like, yeah, that's all great sound advice, but when you're pissed off, man, I don't give a shit what you're saying, and I don't care what my rules say. So you have to be willing to diffuse those emotions even before they come up, or you have some type of third-party manual lockout where you literally can't even touch your account. I mean, that's the best solution. Top Step has it, Tradeovate has it, a lot of different brokers have it, where if you have that type of option, do it. That's going to save you so much time, right? It's the number one issue. I've seen so many great analysts, even with these concepts, like an amazing analysts. And this is why social media is very clouded, because you can only post your winners. Somebody can have a big-ass blow-up day, and you would never even know. You would have no idea on Twitter. And they're just going to post their one little win that they had, but yet they blew their entire account that day. You have no fucking idea. That's even coming from personal experience. I've done that personally. I'm just being real. I've done that personally. Do I do it anymore? No, I'm very real with all of you. That's also the reason why I like sitting on live stream. As a partial reason why I did live stream, because it holds me accountable. I have too much pride to probably tilt on stream. I've never done it. Throughout the last year and some change that I've live streamed, never have done it. I don't even think I've taken more than 3 trades on a live stream before. AK, yeah. Twitter is toxic. I find myself it's very hard for me to post on there. JH, I first dabbled in stocks during GME AMC saga. My heart used to race during that. Now it doesn't skip a beat. Yeah, it's very good. Making progress. How long did it take you to become profitable and consistent? I mean, it's a good question because, again, I found consistency probably 3 years ago. I mean, I found like my first consistent few, 3+ months where I was consistent. And then I blew it all. So I found it, 3 years ago. I probably found it even before that as well at times. But like to actually finally so far get a grip on it. About the last year and a half, 2 years, I've finally have got a grip on my tilt issue. I can still feel it very well, man. Like it's a battle. It doesn't come up like when I'm reading price. I mean, very rarely. It's only I know my triggers for it. My trigger is when if I take a trade and I take a loss, that can trigger it, obviously. Especially if it's on something that I'm very confident in and it doesn't work out. It's my will to be right, and will to be perfectionist, like a perfectionist mindset. That's what I have. If I'm wrong on an idea and it doesn't work out, that's going to piss me off. If I take another trade after that and I lose again, that's going to just accelerate and putting fire on the gasoline of I'm really starting to get pissed off. And I become vengeful. And there's a lot of things like injustice tilt. There's mistake tilt. There's a lot of different tilting issues and subsections within it that are going to affect you. It's not always one. I mean, sometimes it's mistake tilt where I know I made a mistake. I shouldn't have taken that trade. I should have waited for this X, X, Y, and Z, and I didn't do it. And that will piss me off because, in my mind, I believe that I'm better than that, which the injecting logic is perfection is a moving target. I'm never going to obtain it. I put that on my journal last night and on Twitter just for shits and giggles. But perfection is always a moving target. You're trying to seek it, and at times you'll obtain perfection, meaning I won't make mistakes. I'm always on point with everything, but then there's going to be times where I fall short. So, yes, if I made a mistake, I can allow myself to have some type of self-criticism about it, but also have the allowance to say, look, you're a human, you're going to make mistakes, and guess what? As long as I follow my plan, I know my risk management, I know the trades that I take, it will make up for that mistake, and it's going to happen. I can't avoid it. Even injustice tilt, where you're just taking loss after loss, or it feels like the market's seeking you, or you keep getting stopped out by one tick or something like that. The thing that I didn't look at in terms of injustice tilt was it's a luck thing. You feel very unlucky, but what I gathered from mental game and trading, especially within side of injustice tilt, was to look at the times where I did get quote unquote lucky, the times where it hit take profit by like 1 point and then reversed, the times where I was able to get into the market by like the very low or the very high of the market. If you don't journal those things and annotate it, you're always going to feel like you're unlucky, and that will start to build up and accumulate. So injustice tilt, that's something you have to make note of. It's very luck oriented. Even hating to lose, I mean, that's just an overly competitive mindset, which is not bad, but if you let it get to the point where you're overly competitive with something that you don't have much control over, that's obviously a bad thing. We don't have much control over these markets. We only have control over what we can execute on. The whole psychological thing, man, I mean, I can sit here and talk about technicals all day long, but I know 90% of you, if you just figured out your psychological issues and your risk management, it doesn't even matter how well of an analyst you are. It can help, for sure, but I could be the best analyst in the world that's never going to solve your psychological issues. My trigger is if I get taken out of the market and then it turns back and goes the way predicted without resistance. Alex, yes, and what would that be? That would be injustice tilt. You feel unlucky. You feel like the market is seeking you, right? It's purposely targeting you. So you feel like, well, what the hell, man? Like, that's not fair, right? Which may be true, right? It may be true, but you also have to understand that, okay, well, there's times where I get into the market and you'll see it. You may not believe it, but start annotating it. I didn't at first, but the more and more I annotate, I was like, yeah, there's some luck that I do get dished a lot. And people don't want to believe that, especially these concepts that there's luck involved. There's luck involved. You have to annotate that and balance it out, because if you put way too much in one bucket of unluckiness, it's always going to tip that way and you're always going to feel that way. But if you balance it out with, okay, well, remember all these times that all these things happened to me that was pretty lucky. Yeah, I have to be realistic here. It's, it is 50-50 at times. And my New Year's resolution is to spend at least 30 minutes a day. And as much as, I'm being real, as much as I'm a psychological person and I talk about it a lot, and I know a lot of people like me for that, I've really slacked last year on journaling. That also has to do with me mentoring, to be honest with you, because I spend a whole bunch of time on other people at times and I don't spend it on myself. So my New Year's resolution is to spend at least 30 minutes a day going over whatever price did. And not just that, it's to go over the emotions that I was feeling, and either diffuse them at the end of the day and inject logic into it and then move on to the next day. Because if you don't, then these emotions will accumulate to the point where one day you just blow up out of nowhere. I think I've already mentioned this, but Jared, the author of this book, he stated he went to a conference and he was talking to a bunch of traders over psychology. They were all there for psychology. And he asked them, how many hours a week do you spend on your psychology? All of them had raised their hands over certain questions like, okay, 1 hour a day or 1 hour a week, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Most of them said maybe 30 minutes, if not 0 minutes a week on your psychology. But yet you're there for a psychology event, right? Isn't that funny? Because after you're done with this whole technical shit, the last thing that I personally want to do at times is journal. It's very tedious and nuanced to me. It's not fun. It takes a lot of work to do it. And it's something that, especially within our own personal lives, a lot of us, have shit going on, that you don't really want to make out the time for it. But if you want to be successful, and even me, like this realization I had this year, I have to do this for the rest of my career, is journaling, making note of it, and doing the right things. You don't just ever reach a point. Like when people think about consistent profitability, you don't just reach a point where you just wake up every single day, you look at the charts, you just click buttons, you make money. No, it's a continuous strive of journaling, reading price, improving yourself, watching your emotions, injecting logic, doing pre-market routines, doing aftermarket cooldowns. Like these things are repetitive, man. They're very, very repetitive and nuanced and boring, yes, but they're what make you profitable. Okay, that's kind of wild. It is. I mean, all these people are there for a psychology event, and I probably would have raised my hand with them. I would have been, yeah, I don't spend, as much as I talk about psychology, I don't spend that amount. I don't spend 5 hours a week on, journaling and on my psychology. Do I spend 5+ hours on the charts a week? Yeah, I probably spend like close to 10 a week. I mean, an hour and a half a day, if not maybe 2 hours a day. That's, 10 hours a week. Some of you are going to pick up on this and you're really listening, and that's good. Some of you, this is one ear out the other, and I really wish you would listen. There's all this technical shit and what's going on right now in the market. I don't give a shit. This is all just, to me, currently today, this is all a bunch of bullshit. I don't care for it. Another thing is accountability partners. Accountability partners are probably very, very helpful, especially if you have like a close friend or somebody online that trades. Hook up with them, man. Hook up with them and be like, hey, you don't have to go over and know all the details of their trading and how their performance went, but just check up on them and they'll check up on you. Hey, did you journal today? What did you do? And don't get pissed off with them when they're on your ass about it. You need somebody like that. Hey, you need a journal today. Show me proof of it. Send me it. And if you didn't, you obviously explain, I didn't have time for it or whatever. But even if you can spend 10, 15 minutes, man, a day. As far as what price is doing in here, will we continue pressing higher? Maybe. This is not very beautiful price action to me. I don't see anything in here that's really great. That's what this stream is for me, tuning in every day for being accountable, putting in the work. Very good, yeah. But even off stream at JH, it's great you're here and you're watching the price and doing all that. But off stream, like not even watching price, like taking screenshots of the day. Like, let me show. This is a simple journal. I kind of made this up last night just because I wanted something simple for if I need to. What I will go over, I asked myself about 4 or 5 questions. I asked Jared actually, what's something simple that you can, ask yourself every day? If you just want to do like a 10-15 minute journal every day. Describe in detail what happened today. What did you do well? What was challenging and tough, and why? What mistakes did you make in a repetitive state? What did you learn about them that can help moving forward? That might be technical. What are some emotions that you experienced today? How did you handle them? If so, how will you handle them better in the future? False illusions and biases. So you're not going to probably understand this if you didn't read the book, but there's false illusions and biases. And then pictures included. You go over and you annotate price and what happened and what you did today, whether you interacted with it or not. What are some things you may have done better? And then you encourage yourself. I mean, this could take probably about 30 minutes a day, if not a little bit more. Yeah, I can zoom in on it. But these type of things, if you do this every single day, I mean, this to me is what's going to really excel your trading. I mean, this is not, you're not going to excel your trading within one day, but if you stack this up over a couple of years of journaling like this, man, you're going to make some leaps and bounds. Excellent. Yeah, I got you. So you can take a screenshot or whatever. I don't care if you copy it. That also has to go with your pre-market, and I even slack on this at times as well. I mean, I slack on it a lot more than I have than not. Like a pre-market routine. Even in front of me, I have to kind of remake them because I made some new ones. But I have note cards that I put on my computer, on my monitors. I'll put them on the bottom of them or in front of me. They're injecting logic statements that I can look over, especially before a market or during the session, especially if I feel a certain type of emotion. For an example, trying to be right all the time is like thinking I have superpowers. Embrace the challenge. So that's also me, as far as revenge trading, me trying to be right all the time. It's the false illusion is me thinking that I have a superpower, that I can be right all the time. That's completely false. Obviously, I'm not fucking Superman or Doctor Strange or whatever. I don't have superpowers. So for me to be right all the time is a false illusion. It's impossible. We know that logically, but emotionally we get pissed off because we feel like we should. But in the real moment of time, I have to inject that logic when I start getting pissed and say, look, man, you don't have superpowers. Be real with yourself. I can't be right all the time. And it is what it is. If I took a loss, move on with it. Even I have another one. Why do you feel the need to be right all the time? Understand that the limits of your skill set has a cap, and it includes losses and mistakes. Another note card. If I focus on the process / edge, I will be profitable. But maybe only 60 to 70% of the time. Like, we know that our win rate's only maybe 60 to 70% win rate, but yet every time, if we take a couple losses, it's like, well, what the hell, man? I should be winning all the time. No, you have to keep these things in front of you. I have a tilt map, which shows me my stages of losing, like when I start getting pissed off, but most of the time it's only when I take a loss. That's really, there's nothing really else before that. Maybe if I missed out on a trade that I should have taken, that will be, a slight trigger to me. Or if it's been accumulated throughout a few days. Again, all these I put around my computers. I've had this for multiple years. I usually make new ones to kind of refresh it. So that will be in front of me. Even before a session, I'll go over a pre-market, map, routine, whether it's technical rules, whether it's psychological. We're athletes, man. I mean, we're performance-based. I mean, if you look at LeBron James, Kobe, Michael Jordan, any of these people, what are they doing? They're sitting in an arena 2, 3, 4 hours before the game, and they're doing drills. They're warming up. They're doing their pre-market, meditation, whatever it may be, and they're getting ready for the game. But most of us, myself included, I'll just hop on the charts and just start trying to click buttons. I mean, that's pretty dumb. It takes work, man. It takes a lot of work. People don't want to do it. It's the reason why this industry is extremely difficult. And all of these don't guarantee you to win. It just protects it protects you from doing a lot of dumb shit. That's really it. Okay, very good. And what did you learn from it? What are some triggers and some things that you may have came up with that were new? If not, where did you kind of fall short of preventing that? Those are, you obviously probably have a journal, but it's good. And it's funny when I start talking about these things, I lose viewership. It's like people don't want to hear this shit. They're like the real ones who just sit in here and they listen. Man, you'll actually make it. But all the rest of people that just look for signals and care about technicals, man, they're so far fucking lost. They're they're never gonna make it. And I don't mean to be rude or mean, but I mean I'm just being real. Like, you really gotta have a passion for this shit, man. You really do. You really gotta have a passion for this and really want this. And that means doing the dirty work. Romer, very good. I mean, it's something is better than nothing. Even if you really don't feel like doing extensive journaling, just something is better than nothing. $15, please. Yeah, could I see that we've taken buy-side liquidity and there's an inefficiency here and we can maybe target relative equal lows? Sure, but I really don't favor anything in here. I don't trust price. And even if we did run low, I don't care. It doesn't, I'm probably not doing anything with today. I don't feel like throwing my money into this. Because if we were to run to these lows in here, I would have to make the case that today would probably run off a lot lower. On the same flip side, all we could be doing is just returning into this order block here as a reclaimed, and it could send the price off higher again. So I don't have much evidence or framework surrounding a lot of this today. Did we go up inside of a premium on the 1 hour? Did we get inside of the 1 hour inefficiency? Yeah. But I don't know if we're really going to run off lower because I can't determine on a daily time frame, again, the framework. Do we want to look for lower prices or higher? I don't know. Rhetorical. Again, I mean, I've been doing this for 7 years. I'm just going to say that. I started learning ICT about a year and a half into it, so I've been learning his concepts for like 6 years. But all of your timelines are going to be different. They're all going to be different. It just depends on, again, if you're learning from the right people and you're doing the right amount of work, that's why I talk like this, because if I could just go back in time and just say, do these amount of steps and do them in this accordance, you're probably going to find success a lot quicker. I mean, I've done so much dumb shit that set me back so many years. Do I really care? No, because you're going to have to fail one way or the other. But I mean, that's why you try to find a mentor to try to cut your time in half. You try to save yourself time. Yeah, 1050 is right here. So 1050 to 1110. So in which year? Probably right around year 4 to 5 was when I started to actually find somewhat of consistency. And I still failed, on top of that, I would find it. Again, I've already stated this throughout this live stream. I'd find it for a couple months, and I'd go on tilt, and I'd blow all my shit. But I found that consistency. I saw it. Once you see it, even if you blow it all, I know I can still reattain that. Because, if I can just solve that one day from happening, I could have just kept it going. But I really found it probably in year 4, in year 5, so about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I really started to see, like, okay, I found like 2, 3, 4 months of a stretch of time where I saw consistency. I was taking the models, I was doing the right thing. That's where I started to find it. But then obviously I ended up blowing it with one day of tilt, and then I had to restart. But as long as you can see that, and I know some of you have experienced that, that's good. You just have to go back and say, look, I have to solve that. if you've had, 2, 3, 4 months of consistency and you were up, say 20%, and you blew it all in one day, to me, that's not a bad thing. That's very easily solvable. But I mean, if you had 2, 3, 4 months of consistent profitability and then you lost for another 6, 7, 8, 9 months in a row and you just dwindled it all down, well, then you probably need to go back technically and maybe figure out what you're doing wrong. But again, most of you, it's never really a technical problem. It's all psychological. And if you don't have a tilt issue, then you're blessed. Because that if I never had a tilt issue, again, I would have been profitable, like really consistently profitable, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And Dark Ghost, that's, I don't want to put that on there as well. You also have to make the observation is like, it's also normal to go into drawdown, even for a couple months, to go into drawdown. And those are the hardest months to be in because your emotions are a lot higher. It's a lot harder to deal with them. But if you can just work out of it slowly, eventually you'll in turn be back into profitability. It's normal. Jeff, it's interesting actually. I've never thought about that. CJ, do you tilt in your daily life? No. That's the funny part. Is trading has made me so unemotional in my day-to-day life that a lot of things don't affect me. I'm like a fucking robot at times. Like I honestly scare myself. I don't feel many emotions outside of trading. I think trading has made me that way, to be honest with you. Like I'm not lying. I actually dead serious. I'm grateful and I'm happy each day to be alive, but I'm very robotic, to be honest with you. I think trading has literally made me that way. If I had to go into my childhood accidental, yes, I've always been. I can remember from my younger years of playing sports and with friends, I've always had this huge anger within me when it came to competition, which it makes sense when I go into trading, as I'm so overly competitive, especially if I lose, it pisses me off. It's not a bad thing. If you direct that in the right way, in the right type of energy, you're going to find success because if you just do the right things, it's just trading is so different because it doesn't help you. But I mean, even in football, I was a phenomenal football player, phenomenal, all-state, all-American. I was phenomenal. The reason why is because anytime I got pissed off and I wanted to make adjustments, I would just direct that force into it. You can't do that in trading, man. It's impossible. If I get pissed off, I'm just going to end up failing. But like in football, if I'd get pissed off, I would just end up doing more workouts. I'd do more drills. I'd watch more film, or I'd just take it out on somebody. Like I would just literally eliminate somebody. It doesn't work that way here. You can't do that. And that's why a lot of people ask me, why am I so fit? And I'm not. That's not an ego thing. I'm really not trying to be like that. It's because of trading, to be honest with you. I mean, all of my anger, if I'm really pissed off, I mean, it's not going to solve your anger issue. You need to get to the core of it. But, man, if I didn't have the gym, a lot of these days where I was losing for many years on end, I think I'd go insane because the gym was my only meditation to break away from it, to unleash that anger, let it go. Otherwise, people find different vices and shit like alcohol and all that to kind of put a Band-Aid over it, which I've always tried to use that anger that I have. If I have a losing streak or a losing day, I try to put that somewhere positive. Rock some kids in football. Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, I was a menace, man. And I know I'm a little psychotic. Like, you have to be a little fucking far gone to be doing this, man. You have to be a little fucking off the edge. Like, I'm not all there, I think, at times. I mean, no normal person would put themselves through all this pain and trauma. I mean, it's a little psychotic, to be honest with you. Especially for years on end with no guarantee of ever making it. It's a little fucking psychotic. And some people can't handle that. Again, you're going to know if you're made for this or not, if you've gone through years of pain and suffering and losses, but you're still here with the same amount of passion, same amount of excitement. even after losing. You're made for it. This may scare people. Does it guarantee you're going to find success? No. You have to direct that in a very intentional way. My parents, CJ got an extra room. Yeah, sure, Axel, I got you. My parents think I'm an addict. Yeah, my parents thought the same thing. I was blessed, actually. I mean, they still support me to this day, obviously, but they actually really always believed in me. I know some people don't deal with that. I have plenty of friends who tried trading and their parents kind of basically shut it down. They never even went through with it just because of their parents. JH, yeah, I mean, it definitely makes it easier, man, when you have people. And at times, I've wanted to quit live streaming. Like, I even had a thought this year of not even doing this, but I know a lot of people benefit from this, and I know I have a lot of people that are in real life that watch these things, that watch live streams, and they learn, and it does help at times when people are supporting you and believe in you. It's like, okay, well, I can't let them down. As far as the technical side, we're within the macro. We've worked up into this inversion, and we might spool off into the sell side here. So what model is this really, in a sense? The 2022 model. We've taken buy side liquidity. This is a previous new day opening gap, that purple box we're in. We've seen the displacement lower, worked off of that inversion. Within the macro, we may spool towards the relative equal lows there. Why aren't you taking it, CJ? I just don't really find it that high probability, even though it could work. Don't really care. What was your favorite model to practice with in the beginning? The one that really made things very clear to me was the 2022 model. Like, that's when a lot of charter members around me, I knew things really started to click with that, because we knew every single PD array, we knew how to frame shit, but we didn't really have a simple model. As soon as I found that model, that's when I started to build off of that model. But that was really to me, I know a lot of people began with that, and that's how they came to ICT. But when I found that model, I already knew everything. I already knew all the PD arrays. I knew how to do daily buys. I knew everything. I just never really had a clear model that I could look for. And once I found that was, a solidification for me. Like, okay, this is very easy to look for. It has very simple steps to it. You look for buy side to be taken. You look for a displacement lower. You look for a shift to market structure. You look for a value gap. And you look to target opposing liquidity. It's very simple. But as you all know, it's not that simple. You need to have a lot of other things to be profitable with it, which I have like about 2 other models that I utilize. I have a continuation model, and I have an internal, basically 2022 model. So we're at the end of the silver bullet here, and I think that's going to be it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today. I think today, I try to make the most out of days where there's nothing technical. I try to really speak on psychological things. It's where, again, it's the most important. I try my best on days to make it useful. So hopefully you enjoyed today. Hopefully it was fun for all of you who listened. And I'll see you all tomorrow for the live stream. So until then, enjoy your day.